Georgia came into this game a 14-point favorite. Georgia winning over Florida 43-20. We have our monitor on the game. Georgia now with their 25th straight win in college football. Unbelievable. And Georgia winning over Florida in a handy fashion down in Jacksonville in this rivalry game. There was some kind of apprehension about Georgia from Georgia fans as they faced a Florida team that had produced pretty well the last couple of weeks. But Georgia went in. Jenny Dale interviewing on CBS, interviewing Carson Beck. Carson looks mighty happy, and well, he should. So, what do you think? Georgia wins this game over Florida. Final score 43-20. Georgia now moving to 8-0 on the season. Certainly the number one team in the country. Look at them dogs. I agree with you, Stephen. So Georgia now the first of the college football playoff polls, which really those are that's the poll that really counts. Is Tuesday. So you obviously Georgia should be number one, the number one team in the country in that poll. You'll probably have Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and Florida State as the first four teams in the first of the college football playoff polls. And Georgia secures pretty well the number one position in the AP poll, and probably the number one position in the college football playoff poll, as we see on our monitor. Carson Beck and some of the Georgia players jumping in the stands to be congratulated by the Georgia fans. The field down in Jacksonville, the TIAA Bank Field, pretty well emptied of the Gator faithful in the fourth quarter. Mostly what is left there are Georgia fans. So Georgia winning today again, 43-20. So a big win for the University of Georgia. They go 8-0. What do you think about this game? We'll take just a few of your comments for a few minutes to give you the opportunity to react. Now, some pretty good football games coming up later tonight. The big one, I think, is Tennessee and Kentucky. If Kentucky can beat Tennessee, man, that really does a lot to enhance Georgia's position in winning the SEC East, and that very well could happen. Kentucky's a pretty good football team. Tennessee's having to play them in Lexington. Kentucky will be very much motivated, as obviously they should be. So that's going to be a big game, and we'll keep an eye out on that. So what's next for the university? By the way, let's check the stats for this game for the University of Georgia. The final stats for this game. Dejon Edwards had 65 rushes for 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kendall Milton had 13 rushes, 55 yards, and a touchdown. Carson Beck, 19 of 28 for 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had the longest completion he had was 55 yards. So, Carson Beck, I think Georgia fans can pretty much okay. By the way, if you compare the stats for Carson Beck and with the quarterbacks of the past at this juncture in the season, even Bennett, his stats for the this part of last season, they're almost equal. Carson Beck doing a great job. Again, 19 of 28, 315 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dominic Levitt had 4 receptions, 83 yards. He had a good day today. Let's see. In rushing, as far as rushing is concerned, again, Dejon Edwards, Milton, those guys did a good job today. Georgia had 171 yards on the ground. Very good. 315 yards through the air for the University of Georgia. So a good win for Georgia. Feels good to get this victory. I agree with you, Robert. And so here we go. Georgia will be Georgia's 8-0 on the season. Next Saturday, it's Georgia and Missouri. That'll be at 3:30. It's another feature game on CBS Sports next Saturday. Missouri has the week off, so they have a week to, get things together for themselves and look forward to Georgia and to prepare to play Georgia. Missouri's 7-1 on the season. So, it's not going to be an easy thing against Missouri, but Georgia has Missouri at Athens. And then after that, you have Ole Miss coming to Athens as well. And then Georgia goes to Tennessee. So the first of those four games that Georgia had to really get over the hurdle for this season goes very well for Georgia again, winning 43-20 today. And some of the other games of interest, and we'll refresh right quick and look at some of the other games. Georgia winning 43-20. Southern Cal getting beat again. It's in the third quarter, but University of California beating Southern Cal 36-29. Let's see, checking out some other scores of interest. Ohio State and Wisconsin's later on tonight. Other finals that we have: Kansas beating Oklahoma today. Oklahoma was 7-0, the sixth ranked team in the country. They go down to defeat 38-33. Texas taking care of BYU today 35-8. Penn State beat Indiana 33-24. Oregon just smashed Utah today 35-6. Bo Nix had a huge game today. And of course, you're hearing the hype now that Bo Nix is in the Heisman Trophy mix. So, Bo Nix, as long as he doesn't have to play Georgia, he might do pretty good. He's never, Bo Nix at Auburn or Oregon has never had any success against the Bulldogs, of course. Notre Dame big over Pitt today. Louisville beat Duke 23-0 today. Louisville beat Duke 23-0. That's a little surprise. Texas A&M takes out South Carolina 30-17. Auburn winning over Mississippi State 27-13, and Miami of Florida beat Virginia 29-26. So that's some of the games, and big games coming up tonight, of course, that we'll be keeping our eye on. Statement win before Missouri. That's exactly right. A big statement win for Georgia today down in Jacksonville. Just trying to check on the games that will be tonight of interest. Tennessee at Kentucky. That's at 7 o'clock. Well, it's, right now, 7 o'clock or a little after. That's on ESPN. Number one, Tennessee at Kentucky. Ohio State at Wisconsin. That's at 7:30 on NBC. Be interesting. Madison is kind of a tough place to play, and it's at night. And Wisconsin's very much going to be motivated. You kind of wonder, could that be a trap game for Ohio State? Vanderbilt at Ole Miss shouldn't be any problem for Ole Miss to win that game. Colorado at number 23, UCLA. That's the ABC game at 7:30, and then Oregon State at Arizona. So those are some games of interest that will happen tonight. But Georgia winning this game today, big statement win for the University of Georgia, securing the number one ranking for, what will it be, 23 more weeks or 23 consecutive weeks as the number one team in the country. Very, very remarkable. And the 25th game in a row that Georgia has won. In the last 42 games, Georgia is 41-1. Can I say that again? In the last 42 games that Georgia has played, Georgia is 41-1. I mean, sometimes you hear people talk about the good old days. I remember the good old days. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the good old days for the University of Georgia. And I know you realize that. What a special time this is in the history of Georgia college football. So a big win today for the University of Georgia. Now, we'll be talking this week. We'll have a couple of programs, and we'll try to have a special guest joining us this week as we look forward to the Missouri game. And we'll talk about that game and the big, another big game for Georgia against a ranked team coming to Athens, and you almost you have the idea that this Georgia team won't have a letdown. Where you have a big win and then the next week, well, you're not quite into it or something like that. This Georgia team is just steady. They're strong. That's a result of the coaching. That's a result of the players that you have, the quality of players that you have. It just feels like, Georgia is going to take care of business. Okay, this game is over. We've got Missouri next. And the intensity of preparation and the intensity of playing is not going to slacken. And you get the feeling that that's the case. And we think that'll be the case for Georgia next week against Missouri. All right, it's been a good day for the University of Georgia. We'll be with you a couple of nights this week talking about the big Missouri game next Saturday. Thank you for joining us here. Hey, go Dogs. The Bulldogs continue to roll toward the college football playoffs, we hope. Well, we got to win the East first, then the SEC title, then the playoffs. So Georgia continues to roll down that road. Thank you for joining us. Join us again as we get on the